video is a little different today. We're going to go over some failures um, that well, my axe failures. No hatchet failures, but I have a ton of those too. That's what I started on when I started making handles. So this was one of the first handles I tried to make. It was out of a a maul blank, basically. The dimensions are pretty limited. So you can see it's really flat on all sides, kind of like a square. And see, this fawn's foot isn't too good, but it's not too bad for me. I'm gonna be honest, for a square, so I had to turn it like a diamond. So imagine one tip and the next tip is on the other side. I turned it like a diamond to have decent grain orientation and also to try to get a little more width out of certain parts. But yeah, this was just I think 2 by 2 inches or 1.75 by 1.75. So pretty limited billet for an axe handle. This is a boy's axe, and here's another failure. I modified this head. I gave it a high center line. I scalloped I guess you'd call them phantom bevels, but not really. Um, but my edge is uneven, and I did thin it too much, probably. You wouldn't do this to a regular vintage axe. This was unbranded, just a little crappy boy's axe. As you can see, it's a little rounded. It's not too bad, but the edge is uneven, and I am theorizing, other than the thin angle, that an uneven edge can cause extra vibration and can cause catastrophic failure. Now, I was like, this is terrible damage, but you'll see later in this video another one. You might have already seen it. Let's go next, this one. So this is a Butte. This is a Tassie. And I don't buy Tassies anymore. I don't buy axes online anymore. I just get them in person. So I'll probably never have another one. This is probably the last one you'll see of mine. Likely. Not a bad profile. This is more of a like cross-cutting axe. It's really not bad. There's a little bug on there. So my failure here, other than the bad handle shape, is the space up front and in the back. Most important space you can fill, because there's no pressure going outwards this way. So you have to fill it with the wedge as best you can, and also the bottom of your handle. And there's a little bit of space in the back, right here especially. I don't know if you can see it. There's space though. And also there's a slight shelf. It's just not a great job. It also, it's not a close. I was thinking maybe it's too closed of a hang. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. That's something I was really having problems with in the beginning. Is the hang is too closed, never too open almost. I was always able to get it how I wanted. I guess that would mean, I forget if that means the front is too much or the back. I forget. My brain can't like figure it out mathematically right now. Oh, there's a little creature. So next was this. This is one of the first handles I was real proud about making. Another boy's axe. This is my own pin oak lumber. Pretty cool angle. Pretty nice looking. There's some things that make it a little ugly, but I think it's really nice. And I really was proud about this. I thought that this looked really good. Look at that mulberry. And it really mushroomed over. This had extreme mushrooming. I don't know if you could see the angle of it. Let's see if you can get it. You see that? It really hangs over big time. Yeah, I don't know why I have to stand in front to show you guys these. Anyway, the failure here was a major handle failure, and I always am very grateful when the handle fails and lets you know. So it cracked in two places. It cracked here, right where my thumbnail is. You can see the little lip, and here. Now it kind of indicates that there's a shelf, but I don't think there was a shelf. I think that's just when it broke, it did that. I'll have to take this apart. So all these failures, I've just been so dejected I didn't take them apart. I think my dog's after a creature. Anyway, I think the pin oak looks pretty good on this. You guys have noted that the pin oak looks good when I split it. Check it out when it's a handle. I mean, it's pretty. It's pretty stuff. Not great lumber. Not great lumber quality. It has a. This was must have been a small piece. You see all this curve to the grain, and then look down here. I mean, look up here. So yeah, a little funky, but the wedge job was good. It sucks that it broke. I was trying to unstick it while splitting something way too big for it. Just like the next thing I'm about to show you. I went too far testing something out that's not made for, it's not made for, these tasks I was putting it up against. I was just having fun testing limits. And you remember testing these limits? My God, what a colossal fuck up this was. It's one of my favorite things I did. I really put a lot of effort into this one. This is my best handle I've made, another pin oak handle, and this lumber was quality, really good lumber. Here, let's turn the brightness up a little. This is an elm wedge, I think. Pretty cool. Very cool how perpendicular the medullary rays are. Just shows you how good this lumber quality is. Oops. As you can see, it's pretty straight. There's a lot of end-to-end growth. Anyway, and last, you saw this axe about 24 hours before it went to shit. I'm going to show you why I think this might have happened. I think this handle had bug damage. And I knew this before. You see those little holes? I don't know if that's a bug or what, but the crack started here, as you can see, and the only reason why I knew this handle broke, thank God, another handle that let me know, is because I cut myself. It took a tiny bit of skin off where it cracked, and just for a tiny little nick, it let me know that this could have a catastrophic failure. And buddy, you don't have pants on, you don't have you don't have foot protection on. And you know what? Now that I did use it. I think that the fawn's foot's a little too pointy in some areas. That's a thing that I always would work on in the beginning, and I think I finally got it down. A front that's too pointy, especially up top. Now for a full-size axe, you're not using this for carving a lot, but anything you're using carving, I don't like that pressure point. I don't like it to be pointy. Anyway, so those are my biggest failures. Let's do a little zoom in. Those are my biggest failures, my biggest fuck-ups, my muck-ups. It was every single one of these just pained my soul. Every single one. The first boy's axe, terrible, terrible, terrible. I thought that was such bad damage, but yeah, now that you got to see the ice axe, you're like, oh well, damage isn't damage is subjective. Yeah, that beautiful vintage handle. I should have known better. The poor pin oak lumber right here, the boy's axe with poor pin oak lumber. You could I hear people saying more and more that it's just luck of the draw, but I don't know. I've worked so much. I've gotten so many raw materials that I'm sort of leaning towards it mattering a lot. Grain run out matters. I think so. It just leaves an area where the wood can delaminate, and then if you've watched the Skill Cult series on wood, I think he talks about it with bows. He talks about how those cracks start at the surface. So I believe that cracks start at the surface. It's the same way with how you split firewood. you start at the very you know, the very, you're not going inside. It's a out in splitting, um, just like this. Whenever you're looking for cracks, when you're splitting firewood, it starts from the outside. You know, why isn't this? Come on. Oh, is it too zoomed in? Whoops a daisy. So yeah, if you were splitting this as firewood, you would go, that's a beautiful crack to work with, because cracks start from the outside and then they work their way in. Because the outside is the driest lumber, right? And the inside is the wettest. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that whole thing. I've messed up so much, you should believe me. You should see how many. Okay, so I also do carving, and this basswood right here is great for carving, and this piece too. I've saved these for a while. You could see the basswood bark, but if you've followed me on Instagram, you'd know that I failed a lot when it comes to carving. I screw up carvings all the time. I kind of like breaking them, so testing the limits of axes is important, I think, especially if I'd like to sell them to people. You know, I'd rather something like that vintage, that beautiful vintage handle break with me than someone else. If something's going to be used, I should use it first, I believe. That's how I think, you know. Can't call yourself ethical axe and then not worry too much. I'm kidding. Am I kidding? I don't know. All right, guys. Look at the bulb. Look at the mulberry. Before I leave you, look how beautiful mulberry is. So when mulberry is fresh, it's completely yellow. But when uh, when it weathers, when it has sunlight, UV light, it gets this deep, deep, beautiful brown. Let's see if I can find some that isn't sun exposed. Here we go. Look at this. It's so crazy what mulberry, how it interacts with the sun. Okay, so this is a side that had a little bit of UV, and this is a side that didn't. Look at the difference. And it gets darker and darker and darker. It doesn't, I don't think it stops getting real, it really keeps going for a while. It'll get darker than this. It'll be darker. Anyway, thanks for checking it out. The video that you're like, what's this going to be about? Him sucking at something? Yes. Look at that terrible, terrible fawn's foot. But let's leave you with a nice fawn's foot. Oh yeah. Oh baby. Oh baby. That's a beautiful piece you got there. Piece of lumber. That was weird, wasn't it? Yeah, look at the medullary rays. End on that. The beautiful medullary rays.